We are coming together, people. I don't know if I've mentioned it. I probably mentioned it. I totally forgot. But I filmed a lot of episodes worth, or YouTube videos worth at the very start, and I didn't get to editing them, so I've been releasing them way behind schedule. We already got sheathing here. We got this wall framed up, which is the last wall, and it's getting cold out. I've almost got all the sheathing on the rest of the cabin. And so why am I telling you this? Well, just to clarify a couple things, because I did put most of my roof on, or the sheathing on, before I put on the two sidewalls, and that was because I was trying to beat the rain, and it made it kind of difficult because it just structurally was kind of wobbly, which you're gonna see in either this video or another video. But I stiffened that up by putting some sheathing on it, and I did that just on a separate day instead of sheathing the whole thing on the same day. But anyhow, the one video that you just saw was me framing up that first sidewall with the nice little angled wall up top that I was totally stoked on. Well, I did that after I put the roofing on. So if you see that video, you'll see, oh, why there's a roof already on that, and I haven't showed you. Well, this is the episode where I do that. And because of the weather, and because the roof is so high up and you can't really get close without me risking dropping my camera off the roof, I've been filming it just from basically one angle over there. It's kind of boring, so I'm going to condense the footage within one episode of the start to finish of the roof itself. I'll kind of explain with a voiceover throughout it, so you kind of know what's happening. As always, guys, if you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe. There's buttons there or there. I'm not fancy, I don't know where it is, but we'll just say down there. Do it. Then you'll keep getting dope content that I'm making for you. Custom, curated, bespoke, artesian, organic, fair trade, free range content, baby. Anyhow, here's how I put the roof on it. Let's go, baby. Yeah!
All right, so right off the bat, we got a couple sheets up already, and I have my trusty father, Steve, helping me up with those sheets. They're pretty heavy because I went for a thicker, more premium grade ply, so the exposed cabin ceiling would be pleasant to look at because it wasn't OSB and it wasn't something cheap. It was, one side would look really nice on the plywood, which would just give that really nice ceiling look that I was looking for. After each sheet that my dad helped me up with, I would nail them to the rafters or the trusses, and the steps would be repeated for every single sheet until we sheathed the entire roof. Just listen to the sound of that Hitachi framing nailer. It's a thing of beauty. And if you look really closely, you can see how much wobble there is in the cabin structure right now, since there's really no cross bracing. There's no sheathing, and it wasn't until a couple of days later I realized I should have just added some bracing on the framing itself with other 2x4s. So now that we got the entire roof sheathed, let's put on those gable end pieces. So I went out and bought a couple more 16-footers to just finish off those gable ends for my roof. I cut those at the same angles of the 412 pitch that I had already done on all the other rafters. And then my dad helped me up with that, and we mounted it in place, and there you had it, the edges of my sheathing. I knew it was going to run wild right to the end of that, and we nailed that, or screwed that in place, and added some bracing, and she was good to go. After the sheathing and the gable ends were up, it was ready to put down the underlayment, or ice and water shield. I went with a synthetic roll. I started with a tar paper stuff. It was just awful. It was brittle and it broke and it was nasty. So I spent the extra money and got the synthetic underlayment. Now typically you would use the plastic capped nails for something like this, But, well, first of all, I didn't have the patience, and second of all, I didn't have the plastic capped nails. But also, I was going to tape all my seams and basically all the spots that I was going to use the nails, which was on the top and bottom seams of the paper or the synthetic underlayment. Now, some of you might think putting underlayment under the styrofoam is overkill, but I watched a couple of videos where these guys in multiple videos had done it, and it just seemed like, why not? It's not a big price to pay, and it just gives you another form of protection from water. Next up, after the underlayment was on the entire roof, I had to add strapping to the perimeter of the roof, and that would give me something to stop the rigid foam from sliding, and also it would provide even more strength for me to screw my metal roof in the tops and bottoms. Even though I will sheathe it, this would just give me some more strength. So I just used regular 2x4s. I ran the boards wild off the edges as I went along, and then I cut them later. And because I'm adding 2 layers of 2-inch rigid foam, I had to repeat the strapping.
Bippity boppity boop.
After my strapping was all done and ready to go, it was time to get my insulation on the roof.
That's light.
I was using these 4x8 foot sheets that were nice and light and pretty easy to use. And I would end up putting 2 layers. My first layer I ran horizontally along with the length of the cabin, and my second layer I went vertically. That way all my joints would overlap in a way where they wouldn't be stacked, and it would just provide even more strength and more protection from any kind of water or ice that could somehow make its way to the insulation. I tuck taped every single seam so it became a unison piece that would be strong, and it was actually super windy out, and after I taped it and had it on the roof without even gluing it or nailing it or anything, it would stay, which was pretty impressive. Now, I've seen some people use spray foam to glue or adhere their pieces of rigid foam to things like, these building situations or other. And for me, I tried it and I just didn't like it. It started to expand. Even after waiting for it to kind of finish expanding and become tacky, it still would expand over time. And I just found that it was creating gaps in these unwanted spaces. So I stopped doing that immediately and just did this kind of floating, rigid foam insulation for now, because I knew I was going to sheathe over it. I was taping all the seams and it seemed to be very strong and it wasn't going to be going anywhere, especially when I sheathed over the whole thing. And there you have it, R20 rigid foam insulated roof that is ready to be sheathed.